Hello, welcome to day 4 of Jelly Postcard Play, hosted by Carrie Griffiths, and he's also known as Carrie the Crafter. And you can check out my video 1 of this series if you want more information, or check out Carrie's video about it, which I'll also link below. And each day I'm trying to do a different jelly plate technique for my postcard. Today we're going to do a technique I first saw by Created and Made Studios, where she embossed Kleenex, like tissue, like that, you blow your nose with. So she used embossing folder to emboss Kleenex and use it with alcohol inks on the gel plate. So that's what we're going to do today. And you can use any embossing folder you have. If you're not familiar with embossing folders, they're basically like texture plates that are a folder, and you put your paper or whatever, cardstock or paper, inside the folder, and then you run it through this machine. I have a Big Shot, and what that machine does is it squishes it, and it gets the texture transferred to whatever you've put in here. So usually it's cardstock or paper. So we're using tissue, and I was very surprised that Kleenex, we call it Kleenex here, would actually get embossed. So I'm going to bring that over to my embosser, to my machine, run it through, and then I'll show you. So I'm back, and I just ran it through my embosser. I don't know if I mentioned, but you saw me take the Kleenex apart. So this is just one ply of the tissue, and it's surprising, but it does actually take the embossing. So the next thing you do is, and I'm just going to do it on my big jelly, my 8x10 jelly plate. I have a 5x7 here, which we might use as well. Now you're wondering, why is it so yellow? So if you use alcohol inks on your gel plate, it will turn yellow. It still works fine, but if you like your gel plate to stay pretty, then you might want to stay away from alcohol inks, but it doesn't affect how it works. It still works perfect. First step is you spray, she used 71% alcohol. This is rubbing alcohol. I actually filled this with 99%, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, looks like I need to refill that. Let me go refill that. So I'm just going to be refilling it with this I keep showing the French side, the isopropyl alcohol, and the one I have is 99%. Now you do want to make sure that you don't spray it towards you. Rubbing alcohol comes in spray bottles, so I feel like it's safe to use as a spray, but you want to be in a well-ventilated area. Don't have any open flames, obviously. And you never want to spray alcohol ink. You never want to put this in a spray bottle and spray it, because those alcohol inks actually have a resin in them. And if you breathe that in, it's very damaging to your lungs. So never try that. So I sort of started over. I was having some technical difficulties. And when I started over, I decided that I would make the full sheet of the Kleenex embossed. So I put it through once like that, and then once like that, and then I flipped the Kleenex over, and I did once like that, and then this one I just kind of squished the embossing folder. So if you're embossing Kleenex, you don't even need the machine, really. You could just squish it. So if you don't have a machine, but you want to get a couple folders to play with, that would be an option that you could do. I'm going to put this on. So just pushing that down. I'm going to spray with the alcohol spray. And then I've pre-selected some colors. Remember to be in a well-ventilated area. I think I mentioned that before. So I'm going to start with the purple, the wild plum in the middle. Just going to kind of drip across. That's wild plum, and then let's use some of the red watermelon. Just gonna kind of put it just at the edge. Okay, and this is salmon. Put that at the top. And then let's do some yellow. This is sunshine yellow. I'm going for sort of a sunset or sunrise vibe, because I did pick out some stamps and die cuts that I'm going to use. And then let's do this patina. It's more greenish, but I like it. It sort of kind of looks aqua sometimes. And I wanted to try to squish the colors to get them into the 4x6. I don't know if I squished them enough, but, and then this is Sailboat Blue, which is actually what we're going to be using on our, for our sunset. Just going to do that. And I think I'm just going to leave the tops kind of billowy, not go all the way to the end. All right, so now we've got lots on there. I'm going to put, I think that salmon's a little too light, so I'm going to add a little bit of this red here, this watermelon, just to make a better transition between the wild plum and the yellow. And speaking of yellow, let's add just a little bit more up in there and down in here, just to kind of make it blend a bit more seamlessly. Okay, so now I'm using postcards that I cut from this inexpensive paper from the dollar store, $3.25 Canadian for 20 sheets. So now I'm going to take the postcard and I'm going to press it. I'm going to press it smooth side down. I'm going to do right there. You can see that alcohol ink come through. I want to give it a really good press. And you could do this without a gel plate. You could just use like a silicone baking mat. And I think I'm going to press it down a little bit more here too to get a bit more blue. Well, that's maybe a bit too much blue, but that's okay. So that's one card. We may or may not use that. We'll see. I'm going to spritz this again. And I'm going to do another card. Let's do that. Whoopsie. Like I said, I'm trying to make a landscape sunset. And that one's a little bit lighter because it was a little bit less ink on there. I'm going to add a bit more ink before we do the next step. I'm just going to put the colors back where they were, where I had them roughly. A little bit of the red. And a little bit, I'm just going to skip the salmon this time. I'm going to go to yellow. Just want it nice and juicy. And the blue. Okay, so I could, in theory, I could do a couple more of these cards, but I'm going to go and do the next step. When Crete Maid did this, she took her second gel plate and she put it on top. So I'm going to spray this to get it juicy. And the alcohol spray does dry out your gel plate a little bit, so I would recommend giving this a good condition with some baby oil or mineral oil afterwards. So I'm going to choose my section. I think I'm going to go right there so I get a bit of the blue from the bottom and give that a good press to transfer some of that ink. When Crete Maid did it, she did this like right away. Like she pressed cards and then without re-inking it, I believe she did this step, but I wanted it super juicy, so there we go. So I'm gonna let that dry. And I think I'm actually going to, while this is juicy, yeah, instead of pressing more, I'm gonna just lift that off and you'll see that we get an impression on the bottom. And I think I'm gonna lift it up this way. There we go. Now I'm going to put this sheet of Kleenex aside to dry. Actually, I'm going to put it on a piece of paper. If I had another jelly plate ready, I would put it on there, but I'm just gonna stick it on here for now and let it dry. So now we're gonna let these dry. So this one I'll pick up with white directly on a postcard. And then this one we'll pick up with metallic white, and we'll do that on some cardstock. So I'm just gonna use this titanium white. And do that, and I'm going to use my postcard. I'm going to do it flat side down again, right in the middle, and I'm going to use this to press down to give it firm contact. Okay, and this we're going to use the metallic white. And we're going to pick it up with some cardstock weight. White. Okay, and we're going to let those dry. We'll pull them and then we'll continue. Okay, so that's dry. Let's pull that. So you can see you get really different looks from those. Let's pull that off. And that's really, I like that. I like that a lot. I should mention, when you have an embossed thing, you have different sides. So this side, I believe I had it this side up on the page, on the jelly plate. So you have the ridges are the small lines, but on the other side you have the reverse. So you have the little ridges are now indents. So you'll get different, slightly different results based on each side of the tissue, if that makes sense. I did mention that you could do, I think I mentioned you could do this just using a silicone pad and your tissue. The other thing that Creative Maid explained, you could use your napkin bases. Like in episode 1 of this series, I used a napkin, but I separated the base off. So you could do that. You can just crinkle it and put it on your gel plate if you don't have embossing folders, and that gives you a cool design. The other thing she did is she crinkled it and then she tore little holes, and then when you put the alcohol ink on, you get these sort of spreading things. So I don't have time to do that today. I did do it, I think, a little bit on the video where I explore this technique on a live stream, and I will link that video below. So we're gonna have lots of options. Now the last option we have as well, these two are just alcohol ink. These two are alcohol ink with acrylic paint. And then the third option is you take your tissue and you glue, let's see, which way do we want it? Let's do it, I wanna put the ridge side down, and you can use the gel plate to glue your postcard down on here. I think I'm gonna do 2 on here. We'll do 2. Let's do one flat side down and one flat side up so we see the difference. So what you do with this is you take the side that you wanna glue down, you have it face up, you put your matte medium, sorry about Lucy making all that noise. You put your matte medium on the card, and then you just use your brayer to spread it out. And I thought this was genius, a genius way to glue onto Kleenex. And then you just put it directly onto the Kleenex that way. And then that's gonna glue down. I'm not sure if I had exactly enough, so I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna flip it up. I'm gonna put more matte medium. I think I didn't have quite enough. I can see the edges coming up a bit, so I'm gonna use a little bit more this time. Get really generous there. So I have a nice thick coating of matte medium. Matte medium is basically like acrylic paint without colorization, so it's a plastic glue basically. so it's clear. It sometimes can be a bit tricky to get off your gel plate, so I'm probably going to wipe this up right away. So that one's got lots of matte medium on it, and I'm going to push it down. We're going to let that dry. I'm going to wipe this up, and then we'll be back and finish decorating our postcard. So here's our 6 cards. These 2 are the ones we just glued down. It didn't really seem to make a difference which side was up because the Kleenex itself has its own texture. I think those are a little bit too vibrant for what we want to do, what I want to do today. These are the 2 with just the alcohol inks that we did, like pressing down on the Kleenex. These are the 2 pulls we did, and I like how that actually turned out fairly vibrant. So I think I'm going to use that as my base. And then I'm going to use this cardstock to actually stamp and die cut some shapes from this set from Stamping Up. The cling set is Sailing Home, and the die set is called Smooth Sailing. It also has these 2 dies, which I'm going to use. So that's the lighthouse and the large sailboat. And I'm going to use the die cuts to choose, you know, what area I want to cut out. So I'm thinking for the sailboat, I think I want the colors opposite. Like I want the blue at the top and the purple at the bottom. So I think like something like that would be really pretty. And then for the lighthouse, I think I want to match the colors in the background. So I want to do it basically like what this side has. So something like that. So I'm not going to die cut, well, I could die cut them first and then stamp them. But I do find it's easier to line up the die cut with the stamp than vice versa. So these are the stamps I'm going to use, and I'm going to use an archival ink. And I pulled out this, it's just like a foam pad. And I'm just going to use that to get a good pressure there. Okay, so I've just put it on a stamp block, and I'm going to basically just pull the die away right before I stamp it. Give that lots of good ink. And it doesn't have to be exact, I just want it roughly. There we go. And I don't mind if that like line is there, because the lighthouse does have some vertical elements to it. Get that nice and juicy. And then we're going to just pull that out at the last second. Give that a good push. All right. And then I might stamp some birds directly on the postcard. I haven't decided. I definitely want to use this saying, set sail in the direction of your dreams. Just do it on this white part that has just a little bit of color. And let me do another section just so I have some variety, see what I like better. And this compass rose, I might stamp directly on the postcard, like maybe behind the lighthouse, or maybe have it coming up from the horizon line. That might be cool. There's no circle in the die cut thing, but I have a circle punch I can use. So I'm going to take this to my die cut machine, and I'm going to cut out these 2 items. I do have this perennial postage. I think this is still a current, as of today, I think this is still a current set, but I think that would look kind of cool. And you have to put a number on each postcard, and I found this little tiny set. I think it's like a journaling set. It's like so old and crusty, but I pulled out the 4, and I'm thinking I'll probably stamp the 4 somewhere. So I'm happy with the sailboat. I feel like this just blends in too much. Like I could have just stamped it directly on the postcard. So I think I'm going to redo it using this part here that's a little bit lighter. So I'll be right back when that's done. So I'm just going to fussy cut this a little bit closer, and I'm still feeling that it's maybe a little bit too bright. So I think I'm going to tone it down. I like this part here. I feel like this gets lost. I might just put a little bit of white on there. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the metallic white to do a bit of a white glaze on the top part of that. And I just want a very, very thin layer. Something like that. And see what that does. That stands out more. And then I'm going to stamp on it again. I think I like that a bit better. So it's going to be a little tricky to line up, so I'm actually going to pick this up and place it on here. I think I'll get a better approximation, especially the top part there. And if it's not exactly lined up, that's okay. Yeah, I like that. So before I glue down, I think I'm going to actually make a horizon line. So I'm going to do my horizon line. I'm using Inktense pencil. I'll just use a blue one, deep indigo. And what if we put it like approximately there? I'm going to use a ruler. I don't want it right in the middle. I want to divide the sheet in thirds approximately. And I'm going to try to get this as straight as I can. So that's our indigo. Use a water brush to spread it. Let that dry. I might add another layer. While that's drying, I realize that this actually pops out. I need to pop that out. That's cool. Let's add the number 4 here while we're at it. So I'm just going to put the 4 there. I kind of think it goes with the triangular shape of the sailboat pretty well. So it's just a little tiny 4. I could put it on the bottom. I think we'll put it at the top. Just like so. While that's still drying, let's go ahead and ink the edges. Just lightly though, I don't want it too much. This may be a bit too much, but oh well. I feel like giving this a little bit more of a postal vibe by just drawing an outline. Yeah, let's do that. So we get some nice straight lines. I'm just going to use the die for my as a guide. Try to square it up. I find the Pitt pens usually write pretty good over acrylic. All right, let's add a little bit more Inktense. So Inktense are pencils. They also come in blocks and paints. Let's use this bright blue. So I'm just going to add a little bit more to the water here. And then we're going to blend that in. So the nice thing about Inktense is once you activate them with water, they pretty much become permanent. So that made it a nice more delineation between the water and the sky. I like that. Let's just go ahead and ink the edges with the black. All right, we're getting there. We're almost there. Okay, so I'm gonna just glue, oh, that's not the right one. We're gonna glue these down. Do we need the birds? Do we need this? Oh, we could put it just kind of slightly behind this. I think I like that. But I want, again, I kind of want contrasting color so it shows. So I'm going to just snip that in half with my scissors. There we go. Okay, we're getting there. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 elements. I think I will use the birds, maybe on that corner. So the birds are kind of leading the sailboat towards the direction of its dreams. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that there. Go for it, going for it. And then we're going to glue those things down and we'll come back and talk about the card. So here's our finished postcard for July 4th for the hashtag Jelly Postcard Play. And I'd wanted to try this technique again that I saw first by Created and Made Studios using a embossing folder, a tissue, alcohol inks, your jelly plate, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I forgot to mention that if you guys were yelling, don't cut up that card, this card with the hole in it, I can take the first one that I stamped on the other paper and it just trimmed slightly around the die cut, and if I mount that on black, we can use it. So nothing wasted. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow for July 5th edition.